On this episode of Whistle Talk, I talk with Cravonne Barrett, a Southern California native whose passion for football officiating has taken him from high school games in the Mojave Desert Association to the prestigious NCAA postseason assignments and professional leagues like the UFL and XFL. Join us on Whistle Talk as we delve into Cravonne's journey, marked by resilience, mentorship, and the love for the game. That's coming up next on Whistle Talk.
Are you a football fan? Have you ever found yourself wondering what in the world was that ref thinking? Well, Mike D, the referee, is here to help. Join me on Whistle Talk as I talk to professionals on the field and in the booth to help you understand what is going on inside the mind of a football official.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back on our next episode of Whistle Talk. Today, I have the honor and privilege of having Mr. Cravonne Barrett with us. Mr. Barrett comes to us from the going to be coming from us from the Big 12 Conference, formerly in the Pac-12 Conference, and now transitioning over to the Big 12 Conference. And Cravonne, thank you again for joining us tonight. I appreciate you coming on the show with us.
Hey, I appreciate the invite, Mike, and look forward to the conversation.
Absolutely. So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself. You've been officiating for quite a long time. I was reading in your bio.
Yeah, I've been officiating since 1998. I've been officiating since. So it's been some time. It's now going on majority of my life. I have been somehow officiating somehow, some way, which has affected, my personal life, my career, and everything else. Officiating has had something to do with every single part of it since then.
I got you. Now
yeah,
you
it's been a fun ride
at 19 years old, right?
Yes, sir.
You
Yes,
started
sir.
your journey at 19. Yep. Now, was that in
Yep.
football or was that basketball to start?
Both at the time, but it's always been football.
Okay.
Football was the main thing, but basketball back in those days was the reason why I got my first varsity football games, because they gave it to me at the basketball meeting in October. So
Very nice.
it was good to do both there for a while. Actually, a high school teacher of mine got me started in officiating, and I kind of ran with it from there.
So how was that? Talk to our listeners. How was that as a 19-year-old being out on the field? I mean, heck, if you were on the high school field, even working sub-varsity games, you have people that were possibly 3 years younger than you. How was that?
I would say the toughest thing was knowing all the coaches. I'm officiating at, the rules that we have now as far as, the high school you went to and all this other stuff. When we started, they didn't bother with that. It was, you go work a freshman game, you go work a JV game. Even if I had just graduated from the school, I knew majority of the coaching staff. I knew some of the players
Okay.
still as well. So it was a little different until I matured into it, just because they made it so personable at the time, in a bad way, because they knew me. It wasn't like I was a random person that they didn't really know. I wasn't Mike the ref that they see, maybe 4 to 10 times a year. Maybe it was a guy that been on that campus for 4 years, and then now I'm standing in front of them officiating the game. So it took me a little bit to get used to it, get comfortable with it, because where I live in Lancaster, California. We're about 70 miles north of LA. When I graduated high school in 1997, it was 8 high schools playing football at the time in the area.
Okay.
And so it was, still small town feel to it. And out of those 8, 4, 5 of those schools were less than a decade old. Okay, so it was
Oh wow.
very, very small community. So when I say everybody knew me, everybody knew me. And
Everybody
having
knew
a name
you.
like Cravonne, it's kind of hard to hide.
Yeah, I could see that. So now you went from you grew up in Southern California area,
Yep.
and now most recently work in the Pac-12. I mean, that's got to be almost like a dream come true. Working those games and staying in the local area. How was that?
It was amazing. I mean, we it's funny getting into officiating, especially on the football side of it. My local association didn't really have anybody working college football. It was a couple working some, community college, but nobody really at the higher level. It was one that was doing Division II, but he really wasn't that connected to the group. So it really wasn't even an idea of mine to go to the college ranks until I started going to camps, and someone told me like, "Hey, you got to go to this meeting in LA." I'm like, "Hey, that's a long drive," and that kind of started me down the path of realizing that there was more to officiating other than high school. And then from there, like you say, it's, to start to get in on the radar of the Pac-12, schools I grew up with, USC, UCLA, Cal, Stanford, all the schools that you recognize. And then all of a sudden, I'm there at those, even my first spring game at USC, it was like, whoa, this is the coolest thing ever. I'm in the Coliseum, officiating a spring game. So it's been a really cool experience. It's sad to see a conference with so much history and so much connection to the West Coast to be, totally disintegrated. But we kind of lived through this once on the West Coast officiating wise. Had a lot of good officials
Okay.
that was a part of the WAC back in the day when the WAC stopped
Yep.
playing football. That got kind of dealt with the same thing we're dealing with now. So it's sad to see, but yeah, it was an absolute dream going into the Pac-12 and being so close to home. And I've only got to work one crosstown rivalry, but that's something I grew up watching, USC, UCLA. So to officiate that game the one time was a really cool experience.
That's got to be amazing. Definitely got to be amazing right there. Being so close to
Right,
the action of something that you literally were growing up and seeing right in your face the whole time. That's awesome
right.
stuff.
Hmm.
So now your next step, you're onto the Big 12 conference. What role are you going to have in the Big 12 conference? Because I know you just ascended to being a head referee in the Pac-12.
Yeah, last year was my first year at referee. Great experience. Enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I've been on the line of scrimmage for many years and had all my progressions up when it comes to, as we talked about off camera, the Wayne Mackey program in NFL, that's the line of scrimmage, moving up and throughout
Yep.
each rank to the college, it was the line of scrimmage for me. So to make that transition to referee without really having too much experience with working referee at any level and not really ever really having a desire to do so was a quite surprising at the end of the year how much I enjoyed it. And going into the Big 12, it's not official yet, but I'll either be a referee or center judge, but most likely a referee. Hopefully we'll know it. By the time this air, we may know.
Oh, hopefully, good luck with that. That's great for that. Great for the Big 12 conference too of getting such a experienced official coming their way. Now,
Yeah,
you
it
kind of
really
answered
makes a
my next
different off
question.
season. What's
Oh,
that?
I can imagine. No, I was going to say you kind of already answered my question. I was going to say which one did you prefer, being at the line of scrimmage or being with the referee? But you kind of answered that already. You really enjoyed the referee spot, huh?
I did. I mean, I still missed the line of scrimmage. I think that's still the toughest position on the field at any level. It's amazing to
Hmm.
me, you start in high school and where they throw you, you get thrown to, the line of scrimmage where it's the one, position on the field, no matter what level, you have to deal with all aspects of the game
Yeah.
compared to if you're deep, you're not dealing with, the run game as much as you're dealing with in formations. And so it's the most complex position, but yet that's where everybody starts. But, to do it at the highest level is tough to do because you're processing so much. So now being as a referee, I actually have to get back there and play a little games with myself to, stay active, stay involved because I'm so used to the communication with the coaches, the sideline.
Yep.
Each play is a little different to where referee, you turn that microphone on, it's a different story, but leading up to the microphone being turned on, it's really not that complex, in my opinion. Not knocking anything for referees, but my brain was a lot more fried after a line of scrimmage game than a referee game.
And that's where I started off at the high school level. I was a line of scrimmage person myself, and I really enjoyed it because of being a former coach myself. I enjoyed the interaction with the coaches, and
Yep.
they, to my opinion, I could be completely wrong, but I think I had a pretty good rapport with most of the coaches. Being I had a coaching background, I was able to talk with them.
Mm-hmm.
Now I could be completely mistaken. I haven't asked them, but now. But now I'm in the middle of the field, so I'm an umpire, and I am a white hat too. But with my crew, we have a really good crew, and our head referee always says that sometimes being the referee is the most boring spot in the game because you're focused. You got laser focus on the quarterback, and you're not really seeing all the other stuff that's going on. Where when I was at the line of scrimmage, like you said, you're watching false starts, illegal motions, all that stuff. So much stuff pre-snap going on, and then when the snap, read and pass, run, what's going on? Oh, here comes sweep my way. Let me bail out of here and keep myself clear.
That's it. In this game that we do is officiating. Someone once told me a long time ago, we get a year older every single year, and the players stay the same age. No matter if you're high school or college level, they stay the same age. We get older, so you start learning those ways to keep yourself out of trouble. Not only mentally, but physically as well. And that's one of the first things on the line of scrimmage. That sweep comes your way. You better know where you want to go because it can hurt.
Oh, yeah.
It can hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I think if you've had those stripes on long enough, you felt it at least once or twice. And now, now in New Jersey, our high school, as an umpire, I'm still on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm still setting picks at times.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So, yeah, it's a little bit safer being in the offensive backfield.
It is. But I love the line of scrimmage. We'll talk about it, but, for the UFL and, the spring leagues that I've been a part of, I'm still on the line of scrimmage and I enjoy it. But I'm kind of like you. I felt I've always had a good rapport with coaches. And, that's one of the things that now switching to a brand new conference, you go from having 10 years of experience with coaches moving around and stuff, but you'll be amazed at the college level that they move around but they kind of stay close. And they was at this school for 2 years and now they're over here, and they start to become familiar with you get familiar with them, so you have that sign of respect because you already have some type of communication relationship built in, good or bad. Some coaches may smile when they see me. Some coaches may be like, but they know I'm going to give them a fair game. And, so now transitioning to the Big 12, that's going to be thing. I don't know where the locker rooms are. I don't know a lot. I know some of the coaches, but not as well as I knew the others. And now I'm going to be doing it from the middle of the field instead of from the sideline.
Now, is there anything different? Obviously, logistically, going from one conference to the next is a major change. But do you find, and now with you working with the UFL, you're getting an opportunity to work with a number of different officials from all the Power 5 conferences. Is there any type of difference that you possibly notice or that you've heard of going on between conferences, or is it pretty much the same across the board?
I mean, it's pretty much the same across the board. I've been very blessed and to be involved with this spring of all these different innovations of whatever the spring football has been the last few years. And it's really great to get to know guys from the different conferences and different areas because we all do everything pretty much the same. But each conference kind of has its own, for lack of a better term, a version of football, right? Some are, the Big 12 is a little bit more spread, a lot more offense to it. The SEC is kind of a little bit more, spread, but it's a little bit more balanced from top to bottom. The Pac-12 was a mix of kind of everything. So the point of emphasis of each conference, I think, can sometimes be a little bit different. The rules are the same, the mechanics of it the same, but kind of the things that each conference focus on sometimes can be a little bit different is what I'm noticing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm an East Coast guy, so we're Big Ten football here, and that's more of a ground and pound type of
Right,
style for the
exactly.
majority of the time. Where Big 12 and the old WAC conference that used to be the old Wild Wild West back in the day.
Exactly. So, it's if I'm a Michigan coach, I'm worried about holding on the edge and the inside more than I'm worried about the offensive pass interference as with the spread offenses that we got to deal with. You got more
Yep.
RPOs, more spread out, blocking downfield, all that other stuff. So we all do the things the same. It's just the point of emphasis, I think, from each conference can be a little bit different depending on the coaches and the supervisors.
Now, how about and off the top of my head, I was just thinking about that. How about right now with you being in the spring leagues with the UFL, the former XFL, and the USFL? It's now the
Mm-hmm.
UFL. How is that transitioning, and how are you as a crew working together? Because you're all coming from, like I said, power conferences and working these games, but there are different rules now that are going on with that. So, what are you seeing with that?
It's tough, being that it's not all NFL rules, it's not all college rules. It's the UFL, especially this year. It's kind of a mix of, NFL, their own UFL rules, plus a little college adjustments to it. So you kind of just pick up on the little things, the stuff that's really going to stand out that you see a lot. Like, we can have 2 forward passes um, in the UFL that you can't have at any other level, something that you just don't normally see.
Wait a
Yeah,
minute. You could
yeah,
have. I had no idea about that.
right. Which is surprising to me that more coaches has have not taken advantage of it over the years of that rule. Where as long as the ball is behind the line of scrimmage, you can have 2 forward passes, and nobody has taken advantage of it as much as when they implemented
Wow.
it. That I thought that they would, but on punts,
Okay.
the widest person can't go downfield until the ball is kicked. So it's easy stuff to remember, but it's so different than what the football you grew up with
Yeah.
that now you just have to transition and make it to where you keep up on those things. But as I tell anybody moving up now, football is a TV production nowadays. It is made at the NFL level, at the college level, at the UFL level. It's all made for TV. That's what's generating everything. That's what's generating the
Hmm.
income for the players and the coaches and the schools and so on. And then hopefully one day it can us as officials can start seeing the bumps that they're getting from the revenue changing it the way it is. But it's really just a TV production. It is a great game, but it's a TV production, and our job as officials is basically to make sure that we have a game that flows with that production,
Yep.
and nobody's getting an unfair advantage. And that's really all that you're trying to do.
So now, still talking about the transition going from the Pac-12 to the Big 12.
Hmm.
Um, you were with a set. You were with a set crew in the Pac-12. Are any of that crew transitioning over with you, or are you going to be involved with a whole different crew? I know you said you still are unsure of what position you're going to be, so I'm assuming you wouldn't even know what crew you're on. Am I correct in thinking that?
Right. We don't know what crew we're on, but there is quite a few Pac-12 officials that's been, um, hired by the Big 12, ACC, the Big
Okay.
10, kind of everybody's moving. Some guys have gone to the American, the Mountain West. So it's going to be a lot of people spread out at different in different conferences and stuff. But hopefully, I'll get an opportunity to work with some of the guys. That's the one thing about officiating. I'm a little different maybe than some. Some people like working with the same exact crew all the time. When I came up
Hmm.
in lower level college ball in Southern California, we didn't work on crews. It was every single Saturday.
Yep.
You go to a community college game, you may know the guys, but you may have never worked with them before. So that's just how I came up. And I don't think that we can do that at the Power Five level. But I don't have a problem with every so often, every couple years, having some little moving around of crews. That way, you can kind of iron sharpens iron, is I believe. So you get
Yes.
somebody different on your crew, different personalities. Different people have their strengths and weaknesses, and now it helps you all mesh and become a little bit better officiating. So I'm excited about it. Not just having an opportunity to continue my career, because there will be quite a few Pac-12 officials that, don't get to continue their career at this level, as so I'm happy to do that. But then it's exciting to meet a new bunch of guys. A lot of them I know just because of the spring stuff and going to different camps and clinics. But it's a whole nother 14, 16 schools that a couple of them I've been to and a lot of them I haven't. So it'd be nice to go somewhere different. Gonna pick up a little bit more airline miles this year, but but it'll be nice going to some of the different schools.
We'll give a little Capital One plug. I don't know if that's a credit card, but get those miles.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm an American guy, American Airlines. So I'll see a lot of DFW Airport this year, because I'll be leaving LAX, going to Dallas, and then from there, from there on. So it's exciting. It's fun. My daughter's my youngest. She's 16. So she's grown up with me being an official. Everything is kind of, she knows, from August until here. Sadly, her birthday is December 30th. So I missed birthdays because of bowl games and different things like that I had to contend with. But she's grown up with it. So she's excited about it because she gets to go to some different schools with me now. My wife travels with me to quite a few games. My mom goes to the most games of anybody, so she's excited because she gets a whole new group of schools to go to, because she was on me each and every year to hit all 12 schools in the Pac-12, and I think we only wound up missing one over the years. So.
All right, so I got to ask the question, and then after this question, we're going to take a short break. But when you worked that crosstown rivalry game, what jersey was Mom wearing?
None. My mom. Long story short, so it's my family is truly devoted to me. I would not be talking to you right now if it wasn't the amount of support that I've gotten from my family. But they used to go to games in stripes, in black and whites. Okay, so
That's awesome.
Yeah, my first game at USC, my first year in, we were at USC and they were playing, I think, like Idaho or Idaho State. And my referee at the time, Mark Duddy, goes, "Hey, I know you bought like 20 tickets. Where is everybody?" I was like, and I really didn't want to point them out. I was like, and I kind of just pointed over my shoulder. They're up there. And you just see, it was about 25 of them, all in black and white stripes. And the color just poured out of his face. He's like, "Oh my God, Cravonne, please do me a favor. They can come to the games, but tell them don't wear the stripes anymore. I don't want them to get hurt. I don't want, anything to happen or anything like that." So my mom, she won't wear black and white stripes anymore, even though she may have it underneath. But every game she goes to, she will wear black and white. It just won't be our jersey. But they used to take all my old jerseys and wear it to the games. Yes.
That's hilarious. That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So with that, we're gonna take a short little pause here, make a little beer run if we have to, and when we come back, we're gonna dive into a couple of some memorable moments that Cravonne has working in the Pac-12, different things like that. Maybe some other special games. We talked about the crosstown rivalry. And then we're going to dive into maybe if he's got a controversial play here or there that maybe some coach possibly didn't like. So we'll be back in a couple of seconds here. So make sure you stay with us.
If you're enjoying today's show and you want to show your appreciation to Mike D, you can buy him a beer by clicking on the link in the show notes or go to buymeacoffee.com/Mike D the referee. And as always, make sure to click follow and give 5 stars. Thanks for listening. Cheers.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here on Whistle Talk again with Mr. Cravonne Barrett. So before we left, we were talking about some memorable games and talking about that crosstown rivalry. Yeah, I can't speak. Sorry, UCLA USC. Sorry, it's
Mm-hmm.
been a long day.
Understood.
Um, what you've had to have worked some pretty great games and had some memorable moments other than that particular game. What would you say would be one of your most memorable moments that you could think of?
Well, Mike, it's funny you asked that because I always tell everybody that I believe it's true. They're like, "Hey, what's the biggest game? What's the most exciting game that you work?" And I've always said, and it still holds true, it's the next one, right? Because there's no
Yeah.
guarantee that you would get another one. But looking back at my time in the Pac-12, we've had some great games. It's really more about as we get into officiating, it's the environment more than the game that you kind of remember. Um, One of the cool experiences with the Pac-12, Washington, University of Washington, if you haven't been there before, sits right on the water. The lake is right
Yep.
behind it. And my first year in, we went, and at the time, Stanford was highly ranked. Washington was highly ranked. Christian McCaffrey was still at Stanford. And it
Okay.
was early in the year. And the sports information director at Washington was like, "Oh, this is your first time here?" Like, yeah. Well, you have to go out, because, once we get to games, you were supposed to be there 3 hours, but most of the time we're worried about traffic and so on. We're there 4 hours ahead of time. So it's a lot of time in between. She was like, "You have to go out to the lake and see the lake and, see all the boats and stuff." And I love to travel. I enjoy it. That was my first time there. So she walks us out, go across the stadium, walk out. And I mean, there's every yacht that you can imagine for as far as the eye can see,
Oh.
because everybody wanted to be at this game. And we're sitting there, and I'm sitting, they have this water taxis that's going out because you know, the, uh, the dock next to the stadium is full. So they're parking their big old yachts way out. Water taxis going to pick them up and bring them in. And I'm standing there with my referee at the time, Mark Duddy, and I go, "Man, it'll be cool one day to come to the game on a boat. We get here so early.
Uh-huh.
Let's go to a game on a boat." And he was like, we asked around the conference had anybody done it before, and it had been done. We didn't get another game there again. It was like a couple years before we got back to Seattle, but I was still with Mark Duddy at the time, and he remembered, and he had friends up there. And so, long story short, we went out, did a 3-hour tour on the water prior to the game. Cruising around all the different harbors and everything else, and then came to the game via the water. So that was that's the type of stuff that I really remember. But I mean, I've been a part of some great games. Last year, one of the most exciting regular season games. We had the not USC, we had the Oregon Washington game at Oregon, and
Okay.
it was like 21-7 at halftime, and I think the final score wound up being like 49-47. It was just a barn burner of a game. It's just you come out of that game and you're just like, "Oh, this, if we can do this every single week, it will be great." And then, once grades come out and you have a game like that and nobody's talking about the officiating, but it was the most amazing game, but they're not saying anything about us. That's what we look for in stripes, right? Is,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people in the media, people talk that think that, a good official wants to be a part of the game, and we don't. We're the stewards of the game, but we
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be remembered for anything. We all want our respect. Treat me as a human being. I put in some time and effort and a lot of hours into this, but I don't want to be the face of the game. I want the players to go out there and play the game and let the game be resulted in what those players and coaches do. But I've been involved in some fun ones. I've been lucky in the postseason with some great assignments in the postseason. My very first bowl game assignment was actually a CFP playoff game, so that was fun.
Yeah, I'm actually So Cravon had actually sent me his resume prior to us speaking, and I got printed it out. I got it right here, and the bowl list here is quite impressive, including a couple of Pac-12 championship games, some college football semifinal games. But there's one that I want to highlight on it that touches a little bit closer to home for me. Now, I coached football for a couple of years at Montclair State up in North Jersey.
Okay.
You got to work the 2011 Division III National Championship game, the old Stag Bowl.
Yep, the old Stag Bowl. Yep, the old Stag
Nice.
Bowl. And it's funny. That was my first game ever being on TV. So I was
Okay. All right.
ecstatic. A lot of people, a lot of games in Southern California are broadcast, high school games are broadcast on TV and stuff.
Yes.
But my little area in town, I had never been on TV. That game wound up costing me a job at the time.
Yeah,
So
that's a little bit of travel for you too on that.
yeah, just the young dumb decisions that cost me a job at the time.
Okay.
Exactly.
Do you happen to remember who was in that game?
That was like the seventh meeting in a row of Wisconsin, Whitewater, and who was
Mount
the other
Union, I'm
school?
gonna guess.
Mount Union. Yes, yes,
Yep.
yes.
Yeah. I was always
But
always a little bit envious of their programs. They kind of ruled the Division III level, and at the time when I was playing and coaching, we were dealing with Rowan University, where I've had a number of good friends go on and play that got to play in the Stag Bowl a couple of years in a row. Rowan had
okay,
a pretty big run going on there. So Rowan University, old Glassboro State University for the New Jersey folk that may be out there listening. So
okay.
yeah, that's a pretty nice resume you got going on here.
I've been
So,
truly lucky and blessed for what football has brought to me. I won't lie. Another memorable moment was we did a game in Australia. Now that was fun. We got to work Rice and Stanford in Australia, and that was really cool. That was really cool.
all right, now did you play with the NCAA rules or did you go with Australian rules football?
No, we went NC2A rules, but we did go to Australian rules football
Okay.
game, which was interesting. Trying to sit next to the guy to have him explain the rules to me, and but no, it was a fun time. We were over there for 5 or 6 days, something like that, for the experience. So that was a blast. That was a blast.
Oh, that sounds like it. That's definitely something that's cool.
Right.
So now I want to ask you about, and you mentioned it before, and couldn't agree with it more. We kind of just want to blend in to the atmosphere of the game. We don't want to stand out in the game. But unfortunately, there are times where we are remembered,
Oh
and
yes.
usually not for the right purposes. So, do you have any examples that you may have been involved in that may have been controversial or anything like that you could explain?
Um, I don't know if I've ever been involved with one that's controversial. Knock on wood. I mean, I've been
Yeah,
involved in
I
stuff.
got you. I'm knocking over
Right.
here.
I've been, my first year in, I was involved and this was before O2Os came into play. So the communication between the crew was a lot different than it is now
Yes.
compared to what we deal with. But we had a inadvertent whistle on the other side of the field right before halftime, and it was one of those things being a new. If I was, I think it may have been my third or fourth game ever in the pack, and um, I would have had a lot more confidence and a lot more courage to go over there and get involved in the situation, which would have
Yep.
got it corrected. But it's kind of the old school way of thinking of you're the new guy in the room, let the vets handle it, and then once that ship started rolling down the wrong way, it went rolling down the wrong way, and I thought that was going to be my very last game um, in the Pac-12 because you know inadvertent whistles don't happen too often, especially at the Power Five level. But when they happen, boy,
Yeah.
it hurts. It hurts.
Uh, And for the casual football fan that might be out there listening, that's kind of the cardinal sin that us referees and officials have. We don't ever want to be a part of that. If anything, we want to have a slower whistle than having a quick whistle.
Correct.
So
Correct.
we had that occur in one of our big games this year. We had a crew member. We had an inadvertent whistle on a kickoff. It stinks. There's no way of talking about it. It's a mistake that was made, and we swallowed our humble pie. We went over to the coach. We said, "Coach, that one's on us. We're going to have to replay the down because the scenario wasn't going to play out the way they wanted to, of taking the play or anything like that. So, like, we're going to need to replay the down." And he wasn't happy whatsoever, but we moved on from it and had a clean rest of the game from there. But boy, we got a tongue lashing at halftime by our head referee, and rightfully so. And we corrected that mistake, and we moved on from it.
You know, I go to a lot of
that's good.
Yeah, I go to a lot of camps nowadays as a clinician, and I tell some of the younger officials, they're like, "Oh, I haven't gotten, I haven't done an inadvertent whistle." I go, "That's great. That either means you're really good or you haven't had enough snaps yet." I said because, and most of us veterans time, it's going to happen. Usually, it happens when we're a younger official, and hopefully, when it does happen, it happens at some peewee game or somewhere that it's not that noticeable, but it's just as important to those fans and players and coaches in that game as it is everybody else. It's just, it doesn't make headlines as it would at the, the level that we deal with now. So it's, it's kind of like, replay being integrated into the game and being so heavy into the game now to where, before it was, you call a person down, but they fumbled the ball or they weren't down. Now we have, the 8K televisions and cameras that shows that their knee was a hair up. So it's kind of like one of those things is that you want to perfect your craft, you want to be great at it, but yet if there's that any sense of doubt where you can't get that perfect view, you're better off with the technology and the way the game has evolved. Let it play out, because you can always come back and correct it, compared to blowing a whistle too early, calling a person down to where now we can't go and correct it. So it happens. I had a tight game like that play the semifinal to Cotton Bowl. Wide receiver coming across the field, quick little roll on top of a body. I didn't see a knee down, let it play out, scored a touchdown, boom, boom, boom. Came back as soon as they showed one little click view from the other side. You see his shin had hit. We come back, and it's a whole lot easier telling the coach, especially that coach at that time that was on the sideline. Hey, coach, he was down. We didn't have a score. I didn't see it on the other side. Oh no, it was great because the coach said, "I appreciate that. Appreciate you letting it play out, because if you killed it and he did score, then I really would have been on you." I go, "Hey, I'm glad you understand." So it's the game is starting to evolve, but that's kind of the toughest thing that I had to deal with, especially because I was so new at the Power 5 level, was being involved in a game that had an inadvertent whistle. I was, ouch. Still get nightmares.
Yeah, those are definitely hard ones.
Yes.
So, really quickly, I just want to touch base on you brought up the O2O headsets. So again, for the casual fan, that's the headsets. So you see all the officials now, and we're wearing them at the high school level ourselves here in New Jersey. We're communicating with each other through a headset, through the officials. But something that I was just picking up on over the weekend, I was watching one of the UFL games, and I noticed that not only were you it wasn't your crew particularly hooked up with each other, but also you were hooked up with the head of the officials up in the TV booth. Am I correct in saying that?
Correct. So now, at the UFL level, not only you connected on to your crewmates on the field, the replay person on site, you're also connected to Dean Blandino or Mike Pereira, whoever's on that game with you. And TV has access to all of that as well. So they can hear our communication between us and officials directly, unlike at the college level, to where that communication is just really between us on the field and the replay booth that's there at the game. Some conferences now are expanding to where the command centers can come and actually talk to all the officials on the field. But it's coming to that, to where with the technology and everything else, it's going to be, to where you can hear directly from the command center. The question is going to be is does any of the college level or the NFL start to give the access to TV as the UFL and XFL has done?
Yeah, that's got to be a good little tightrope that you guys got to walk with that, minding your P's and Q's of what you're saying and
It
making
is,
sure everything's status quo.
Mike, I tell you, I'm real old school when it comes. I'm still young when it comes in age compared to a lot of officials, but I've been doing this a long time, so I'm real old. Being able to joke and just that it's a dead ball, your TV timeout and stuff like that. Where before you used to have to walk to the middle of the field to make a comment about something.
Yep.
Now you could do it on 020, but now we also have to understand that TV can hear. So what I may feel it was funny. At the time, the public may not feel that it was as funny
Yep.
as somebody else maybe would have been. So it's kind of that double-edged sword, because I think the O2Os can be a benefit. They can be a great resource. I've also been involved in games to where they're also, I don't like it because there's too much communication. I don't like communication during the play. That's just my preference,
No.
right? It's just, once that ball is about to be snapped, let's be quiet. And then if I'm the referee or whoever else is the referee, when they're making their announcements, we go radio silent and we don't continue to talk, because it's hard making those announcements and you hear, somebody talking in your ear. So they can be a great resource. But then also too, sometimes it's us being officials, we could be very critical of ourselves or each other. So instantly we're going and kind of critiquing somebody else on the other side of the field about a particular call. And to me, that's not what the O2O set was built for. It was built for, hey, Mike, I'm, have a discussion with the coach over here to, if you were the referee, hey, I'm having trouble on the sideline. They won't get back for me. And so you can have that interaction. Or, you're working an umpire and I'm the line of scrimmage. I could say, hey, Mike, tell 72 to get up on the line, or, tell 95 to back up off the ball. Those little different things, communicating with the officials on the other side of the field, say, hey, I talked to number 77. Make sure you tell the head coach we talked to this player about such and such. And that's the type of resources that I enjoy, that is for. But sometimes it can get a little chatty depending on the crew.
So now I got a little funny story for you, because now at the high school level, our technology, it's good, but it's not as advanced as what you may have at the NCAA or in the professional levels.
Hey, we got a couple
there were two
McDonald's
games in
orders.
particular. That's exactly where I was going. There was one game where we had a police scanner going on. And we had police officers yelling at us, who the heck's on this channel? Get off this channel. And we're like, hey, we're working a game here. We don't know what's going on.
Right.
And then a couple weeks later, we actually had a local bowling alley. So
wow.
They were talking about how the pins were clogged in lane 7 or something like that. We're like, what is going on here? So at the next time out, we all had to change our channel to a different channel to make sure we weren't getting any other interference. But it's it's just that background noise. You're a little confusing, a little amusing too, but a little confusing.
A little confusing. The concentration that it takes to work a football game, especially nowadays, to where, I miss the old school 3 yards in a cloud of dust games, where the team's going to run the ball, go to the huddle, run the ball, go to the huddle. You may see 160 plays. I mean, we've had, I think my highest count without overtime, we had a game that was like 228 plays. And so, right. And you're just going and going and going. So you need that chatter to where you can pick up on stuff quickly, but yet your concentration and focus, you don't have any downtime whatsoever. It's, you're counting, you're doing whatever responsibility that you have. And, instead of having 5-10 seconds to do it, you have 2 seconds to do it. So I myself don't like to hear all that chatter, because I'm probably trying to pick up on something else that's going on, and especially on the line of scrimmage. You're counting, you're getting formations,
Absolutely.
you're communicating with the coaches, you're doing so many different things that I don't need somebody in my ear saying, "Hey," But I'm trying to get better with it.
Those pre-snap keys with a hurry-up offense, and when you got both teams running hurry-up offense, those pre-snap reads have to go really fast for us.
Oh, yes.
You missed that one false start or that one illegal motion or some 5 guys in the backfield, you're getting ripped by some coach somewhere.
And it always happens on the big play, right? It's never on the, the generic, 2-yard run. It's always on that big, 80-yard play that you missed. It happens.
Yep.
Nobody's perfect, but I don't think that's what a lot of people outside of the game don't recognize. And on my podcast, we've talked about it a lot, to where, in baseball, people want to see the robo umps, calling balls and strikes. And, at the NFL level, they're saying, hey, you want replay to be more involved. But the nature of sport is the nature of, of human interaction, to where we're going to have our mistakes. We're going to do some things right. We're going to do but that human element is what makes sports so great. If it gets to be so refined and so, lack of a better term, black and white, I think a lot of the fans is not going to like that. I said on my podcast, I don't want to be at the baseball game and, when Shohei can throw the ball again, being a big Dodger fan, and he has a no hitter going, and then all of a sudden, because that one pitch was a tenth of an inch outside, that all of a sudden we're going ball instead of ringing it up.
Yep.
And it's those type of things. Like, yes, everybody, you want perfection, but the human element of the game, the players make mistakes, coaches make mistakes. We want replay to be involved in the big obvious stuff, to where it's like, whoa, hold on a minute, no, that's not right. Let's get that corrected. Nobody wants to see a 10-minute review. I don't care what sport,
Correct.
We want the game to flow. Nobody wants to see a 10-minute review.
Well, Cravonne, once again, I truly, truly appreciate you taking the time to come on with us tonight. You had mentioned your podcast, so tell our listeners about your podcast, if you don't mind.
No, so podcast that I do with 2 friends of mine. They're both, former Pac-12 officials, as well. Just Unofficial Lounge. Please like and subscribe. We're on all your platforms. We're similar to what you do. We don't talk any X's and O's whatsoever. It's all about the life, either as you came up in officiating or your life surrounding officiating. How has it affected home? How has it affected work? Because I think that was my big thing, to where everybody, you and I talked about it kind of off recording. When I came into officiating, 80% of the guys that was in the room with me were connected to the school somehow, some way. They were a teacher, they were, administrative, they were somehow connected to the school, and they coached another sport and officiated, the sports. To where now you go into rooms and you hardly see anybody connected to the schools. It's not as much, you went from 70-80% to now it's 10-20% is connected to the school. So it was a big transition. And I think with officiating, as we try to go up, officiating, that I talked about a little bit, had a lot to do. Me being 19, I made a lot of decisions around officiating, accepted jobs, turned down jobs because, it wouldn't work with my schedule. Now, if I go back and do it all over again, would I do it the same? I'd maybe make a couple adjustments, but if it leaves me right here where I'm at, I'm not disappointed about it whatsoever. But and we're going to start seeing more and more of that, because the game itself and the responsibility and the critique that we have at our level is growing. It's no more of just, as people think, we just show up in this uniform and go work these games. We're putting, regular work hours in weekly to what we do. So that's what we talk about on the Unofficial Lounge. It's real football heavy, but we're trying to grow to where, we can start to get into basketball, baseball, and start seeing the other sides. But because of my connection with football, we've been real football heavy, but we continue to try to grow. Want to get more coaches and stuff involved with it, so we can, because coaching and officiating as much as everybody think it's the polar opposite, the you coming up in it is kind of the same. You put you've
Yeah.
coached, right? It's a lot of grit and grind and then coaching before you actually make a livable wage, right? So where it's like,
Yep.
it makes sense to be away from, the wife and the kids, for long periods of time. And, they understand that. And officiating is the same way. So, we like to get more coaches, involved in the show, but it's been a blast. We're going on to season 5 of the show, so it's been a lot of fun. It's cool to get to know people on the other side of it, than just the officiating side of it.
Absolutely. And throw that name out there one more time. The name of the show is The Unofficial Lounge.
The Unofficial Lounge.
Awesome. So make sure, ladies and gentlemen, go on, give them a listen, give them the like and subscribe, give them those thumbs up, those 5 stars, all those things. Keep your eyes out for him. Again, Mr. Cravonne Barrett, keep your eyes out for him in the springtime, working the UFL sidelines, and come the fall in that Big 12 conference. Cravonne, thank you once again for joining us today. I truly, truly appreciate you taking the time again away from your family, as you were just talking about, and being on our little show here. Good luck the rest of the way, and good luck with everything else. Thank you once again.
Hey, I appreciate the invite, and thank you so much for what you're doing. And anything I can do to help moving forward, feel free to reach out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Whistle Talk, where we unravel the fascinating world of football officiating. If you enjoyed today's discussion and want to stay in the loop with the latest insights, be sure to subscribe to Whistle Talk on your favorite podcast platform. Stay connected with us by following Whistle Talk on social media, where we share behind-the-scenes glimpses, updates, and engage with our incredible community of officiating enthusiasts. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Just search for the words Whistle Talk. Your support means the world to the show, and we'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, or suggestions for future episodes. Drop us a line through our website or message me on social media. I'm always eager to connect with the fellow fans and continue the conversation. Until next time, keep blowing the whistle on the untold stories and nuances of football officiating. Thanks for being part of the Whistle Talk family. This is Mike D., the referee, saying so long for now.